worry. Okay. So today we'll be talking on the Scrum ceremonies. My name is Olaomi, and we've already spoken about the ground rules of all muting ourselves, and of course, be ready to unmute. Um, you can kindly note the questions as you go by so that you don't forget it. Sometimes if you put it in your head, you might forget because you know the quotation that the faintest pen, it's better than our sharp mind. So let's just try and note it down. Um, I also want us to remember that we're all learning. So don't just feel free to express yourselves. That's what Scrum is about. And the reason I like this section very much right now is because we are all Scrum Masters. We speak the same language, or we are going to be speaking the same language as we are going on. So it's the reason we are having this section is just to bring you up to speed. So right now, can we all unmute? Can we all unmute ourselves? And can I want to just hear a shout immediately. Please, who has watched the video I told us to watch earlier? Who had time to watch it?
I
I
did.
did.
I
Yeah.
did.
Okay, so I'm happy to hear that. So it will help me not talk too much because I know that you've listened to some of the main things that I'm going to be talking about today. And I'll try and run through this as fast as possible so I don't bore us to death. And you see the reason why I said so. When I get to that slide, I'll tell you the reason. So lastly, so let's go through this together as a journey and let's understand what Scrum ceremonies are and its importance to the Scrum team. So I start. So my table of content, I made it so short because if I write out every title that is there, it won't even take 2 pages. So I just went straight to, I want us to just have a feel of what Agile is and the frameworks under Agile, what Scrum is, empirism in Scrum, and then we jump into the ceremonies. So, but the first four items, I'm going to be going very fast because that's not really our focus for today. But sometimes I realize it's always good for people to have a background knowledge of what we are delving into so that you can start understanding the reasons why we are saying this. That's why sometimes you hear people talk when they are, taking you through something and you be like, oh, you don't understand the, technical jargons. That's because probably sometimes some foundations are not laid yet. Um, so what's Agile project management? It's an iterative approach of delivering a project throughout its life cycle. So everything that is about Agile is saying continuous development, continuous delivery, continuous everything. That's Agile for you. Agile helps the team deliver value to their customers faster, and there's constant collaboration with stakeholders and continuous improvement at every phase. This is a very clear definition of what Agile is. And I got this definition from APM, which is the Agile Project Management, body. So basically what they're just explaining to you right now is that we are trying to deliver fast. We are now in a VUCA world, right? Everything is very volatile in this world. Between you and I, you tell somebody that do this for me, and then somebody goes back, sits down, plan, takes 3 months, and then comes back to show you something. Or person B, that's person A I described, right? Or person B goes and then, does a quick plan within a week, elicitates with you requirements, understands you, questions you, there's a back and forth, there's a conversation, you are in the process. So, maybe that first week, let's call it like a sprint zero, we're still trying to get our feet and everything. So the second week, the person is showing you something tangible. This person has started with probably a landing page of the website you said the person should go ahead and do. And the person is showing you as a customer that this is what I have done according to what you said. And the person can give you feedback immediately. That's review now. The person can give you feedback immediately telling you that, oh, I don't like this color. I think I want it to be green. You change it immediately. You show the person again. That person is inside the building, and you are able to also do other researches, and all this is happening between the first month of even starting to do this thing. Now, you as a person, you can unmute now to answer. Who do you think you want to give your work to? Who do you think you want to give your work to? We can unmute and respond.
A person that will give a speedy feedback.
Thank you. So that's where we are in this world now. People want things sharp, sharp. If you think you want to go somewhere and sit down and start doing program, people will produce it for you in one day. So people want very fast delivery. So that's the reason for Agile, Scrum, and all this talk we're talking about. Now, in Agile, we have so many frameworks, right? So these are but a few. This is me picking a few. So this is the Agile umbrella. We have Crystal, Safe, Scrum. XP is Extreme Programming, Kanban, Lean, FDD, TDD. You know what? I won't go into all the details. I'll just pick the ones that are very common here, right? Most companies use Safe Agile. Safe Agile is the same as Scaled Agile. So in Scaled Agile, there's what we call PI planning or big room planning and all. So organizations use it to, sit down and have a big full planning, probably within a quarter before they start working, amongst other things. Scrum is more of the iterative approach, every sprint we're delivering something, showing something incremental as you're going. Most companies that use Safe use Scrum because it's more like they work hand in hand to an extent. They are all different frameworks, but sometimes people mix things together to, like some companies will use Kanban and Scrum. We'll call it Scrum Ban. Some people use Lean, some people use even Waterfall. That's our regular traditional approach. We're not saying the approach is bad, right? Moji also mentioned that yesterday. So some people use a mix of waterfall and agile. We call it agile, different things. So people are very flexible with how they do these things. We have XP, extreme programming, those ones, in fact, they're too techy. I don't want to go into that. Kanban is more of, almost picture Scrum, but this time around, you're not doing the ceremonies, you're just going bang, bang, bang. As you're going, you're delivering, you're going continuous. It's like a continuous, process. Lean is more for manufacturers. It's just to eliminate waste, amongst other things. So these are some of the important frameworks in Agile. Now, what is Scrum? So Scrum is a framework of rules, right? I think I should lay this foundation first to say it can't even be a foundation anymore. We've been here for a week, right? So in Blue Sky, we use Scrum. So Scrum is a framework of rules, roles, events, and artifacts used to implement agile projects. So you see, this definition is specifically from the Scrum Guide. And the reason I'm using it is it as well tells you everything within Scrum. You see, Scrum can be shown to you at a glance with just these words. We have rules that we have in Scrum, right? We have the rules, we have the events, we have the artifacts, So the rules are more of the Scrum values, the Scrum guide, this and that. The roles are what you are as a Scrum Master, the POs, the developers. Events are the ceremonies we're talking about now. Artifacts are the product backlog, sprint backlog, and then the increments that I spoke about, earlier in the week. So that is Scrum at a glance. Every other thing is just adjustment. That's, extra. So it emphasizes teamwork, accountability, and iterative progress towards a well-defined goal. So it's just making us accountable for what we are doing. We're self-organizing, we're even being cross-functional in between, we are trying to build something, we are saying we want to build something iteratively, we want to give you this solution by this period of time. We are starting now, so we'll give you this at this time. All those things. It's just what Scrum is about. So that is one of the most popular frameworks in Agile. So it is also, it consists of sprints that typically last between 1 to 4 weeks with the objective of continuously improving the product, right? So a sprint can last between 1 to 4 weeks. Anything other than that, you're no more working within a sprint, right? But on the average, most organizations do 2 week sprints. But then it also depends. Some organization, they don't really care because that should be it. You should, when I mean they don't really care what you do as a team as long as you agree as a team, right? So let me give an example. Like, some teams within the same organization can do a 2 week sprint because they know they can deliver so delivery things between 2 weeks period. While some teams in that same organization, they can go for a 3 week sprint, probably because they are developing methods, they are developing, things that they are not sure they can quickly, do things they are not sure they can quickly achieve. So they go all the way to say, okay, let's do it within 3 weeks, and then we'll be able to deliver something concrete. So it depends. And this is agreed by the team. You must note that. You don't just say, okay, because you went to an organization, they are doing 2 week sprint and everything. Yeah, organization can just nudge the teams to this is what we want, right? But you as a team, you sit down, decide, and you have a conversation within your team, and that's where you come in as a scrum master. Always ensure these conversations are hard because they are the ones doing the work. The developers will be the one to tell you that, oh yes, we can deliver this within the 2 week sprint. So yeah, you guys can go for a 2 week sprint. But if they want, more because of so reason, and it's not because they want to be lazy, you too, you will smell your surrounding now and know what the reason is for such things. So you sit with your team, agree, and then you know how you push for making it right for your team. So now, for me, I just feel to mention the Scrum Guide. The Scrum Guide is is more like the rules that we follow in Scrum. Now, the reason I'm showing this is not because I want to be saying, oh, it was developed in 1900 and all that. It's actually 1990, but I'm just trying, it's not the reason I'm showing you this. I'm showing you this page because I want you all to take time, probably this weekend if you can, because in the coming weeks, you might also still be, very busy. It's not like you will just relax. Now you're getting your hands more dirty in the coming week, right? So if you can within this weekend, or even if you can't, even if it's next week, try just go online and type Scrum Guide 2020. Now note that there are other Scrum Guides that have happened prior now, and they keep changing it from time to time. They keep upgrading it, updating it, and there is for 2018, there is for 2020. If you want me to send to your teams, I can do that. However, it's something you can go into just go online and type Scrum Guide. You should read it. It's just like 16 pages, but 16 short pages. It's not like it's so cumbersome. You can read it in one sitting, within 45 minutes. You just have a feel of what the whole of Scrum is about. And those are the things I told you earlier, the roles, the events, just everything about Scrum. So that's the reason for showing us this page. Please go and read the Scrum Guide. Now, before we now jump into the ceremonies, there's what we call empirism in Scrum. It's also known as the 3 pillars of Scrum. It's called the transparency, inspection, and adaptation. When I take people through things, I always want them to remember things for life, right? And when I mean remember things for life, because this is going to be handy for you throughout your, career in Scrum, right? So we do in Scrum, we have 3 pillars that we, abide by: transparency, inspection, and adaptation, right? I always tell people just try and find a code to put this in your head. You feel, it's very simple. Now, it's transparency, inspection, and adaptation. When you get to in front of an interviewer, they can throw you off your feet and ask you the 3 pillars of Scrum. They ask people a lot, trust me. But sometimes they don't ask, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a concrete question, but there are some things that you shouldn't let throw you off as a scrum master. You should have this handy. So for me, I used to say TIA. So one day I was saying TIA to someone, and the person just told me AIT, and I was like, oh, well, people remember an average Nigerian. We remember AIT more. Whichever way, just try and put it in your head. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So transparency is just visibility. Another thing I appreciate Scrum for is that most of these words are what it means in English, right? It just requires a bit of common sense for you to be able to twine it within your, you know, your thoughts. Arrange your thoughts. You'll be able to understand what being a Scrum Master is. And in Agile, there's something called common sense and pragmatism. So most of these things are just relying on common sense, right? It's not cast on concrete. Nothing in Scrum is cast on concrete. Nothing in Scrum is like, oh, it must be like this. No. What is peculiar to your team? Scrum just gives you a guideline on how to do it, right? Hope you are getting my gist. You can unmute and say something before you mute back. Hope you're understanding how I'm explaining these things.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I just want to be sure I'm not yet boring you.
No.
Thanks. Okay, so transparency is just about visibility. So in your thoughts, sit down. We've told you a few things, in Scrum. Or maybe I should ask this question towards the end so that I'll be sure to get the right answers from you. But ideally, what do you think shows transparency? You can unmute too. Let's stay unmuted right now. So what do you think shows transparency? Okay, somebody's hand is up, right? Or what is this? I just saw something. Okay, it's not up. So what do you think is transparency? What shows transparency in a Scrum team? Anybody can speak. What shows transparency? What do you think shows transparency in a Scrum team?
This is Daniel.
Thank you.
I think the fact that everybody knows what each person is doing at the same time, at any particular time. You know what the BA is doing, you know the process, you know the status. If the BA is doing their gathering story requirements, you know exactly what they are doing, because that's why we also have the board, using Jira or DevOps. You can see what each team is doing at every point in time. And also, that's why we have our daily stand-ups in Scrum. What did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? Any impediment? So you can practically say, you know, this is what this person is doing at every time. And also, everything about Scrum comes with transparency, even when you are planning, when you are doing capacity planning, for instance, you know who is going on holiday, you know when they are going on holiday, you know how many hours each person is working for the next 2 weeks or thereabouts of that sprint and everything. So everything comes with transparency, and every member of the team knows what every person is doing at every particular time.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm not going to say anything then. Okay, let's end the day. If Daniel has this information, we don't need to go. We don't need to continue. I can't say it better. That was spot on. Spot on. He covered everything I wanted him to cover. So that's really spot on. So, yeah, let's end the day. Are we ready? Let's be going. We can
I
start.
beg go, I beg go.
Daniel has implicated all of us. So let's be going. He mentioned every, I was when he was talking, I was like, okay, maybe he won't mention the board. But he just mentioned the board. He mentioned the capacity. That's transparency for you. That is what transparency is in Scrum. We can see everything anybody's doing, even a third party coming. You can imagine your boss of your boss of your boss, right? Just jumps into your Jira board or your Azure DevOps board and goes to your metric. You can see that this is what this team is doing. Okay, this is what they set out to do. You just go check out your goal. Okay, this is what they want to do this sprint. Oh, okay, they want to do the login page. And he goes to the metrics and say, oh, okay, they've been able to complete over half of their tasks within the first couple of days and all, that's transparency. We can see everything everybody's doing. We can see everything on the board. So that's spot on. Inspection, just so that we don't take too much time. Inspection is that we are inspecting ourselves. How are we inspecting ourselves? We're inspecting ourselves probably through the retrospective. We're inspecting ourselves through daily Scrum. We are checking out, what are we doing? What are we doing well? Okay, what are we doing for today? That's for the daily Scrum. But what are we doing well? Maybe that towards the retro and all. So we're just inspecting ourselves. And adaptation is probably after your sprint review, you go back and sit down, you know, you also go into the retrospective, you sit down, okay, these are the things we need to work on. Okay, let's adapt this change. So it's intertwined. Whether for example, I just made mention of retro for inspection. I made mention of retro for adaptation. And funny enough, retro also goes for transparency because in retro we are open to talk. We explain ourselves. We also have a retro board showing all this. So we'll see it as we go on. So that's the whole idea of empirism in Scrum. I wanted us to have that background knowledge as we're going so that we can understand what the Scrum ceremonies are about. So next slide. Um, what is Scrum ceremony? So they are meetings specifically organized to ensure that the Scrum team are in sync and executing the development of a product. So Scrum ceremony also helps the team get work done in a structured manner, helps to set expectation, empowers the team to collaborate effectively, and ultimately drive results. That's what ceremonies are. And why they call them ceremonies? Because it just reinforces standardization. Something you do every time. You're doing the event continuously. That's why we just refer to them as ceremony. It's also called Scrum events. They are all meaning the same thing. So it's just regular meetings that we organize to ensure everybody knows what they're doing, everybody knows where they are, everybody knows the importance of what they are doing. Because sometimes if you don't know the importance of what you're doing, you might not do it well. If you don't know the importance, you might not be motivated to do it well. So that's the reason we do all these ceremonies within the sprint so that we can understand what we are doing and do it well, right? That's the meaning of Scrum ceremonies. So Scrum ceremonies are also done within the context of a sprint. So, and who are those that are going to be in these ceremonies is the Scrum team, hence the diagram below. So just to show us that it's the Scrum team that are going to be there. So what's the purpose of Scrum ceremonies? Is virtually what I've explained. Some of the reasons why it's important is it empowers the team to collaborate effectively. It helps set and measures expectation, provides the team with a framework to carry out assigned tasks in a well-structured manner, steers the team towards achieving successful results. So we are just trying to ensure that we set expectation with the planning, we measure it, we know where we are going, so we can come out with a minimum business increment or what we call an MVP too, like a minimum viable product. So is is basically for us to bring out something at the end of the day. I don't know if most of you have come up with come across the picture of you, trying to build a car, and you start with a skateboard, and after the skateboard you do a scooter, after the scooter you do a bicycle, after the bicycle you probably do a machine, like a power bike or something, and then after a power bike then you come up with a car. Is because just jumping into the car you may not get it right, so you're building iteratively until you got to the part of the car. So that's all. The reason we do this ceremony is for us to step by step be able to produce something iteratively, for us to work together as one, as a team. Now the ceremonies we have, um so so we have four ceremonies mainly. However, we must not play with the fifth ceremony, which is the sprint refinement, because um, it helps us understand ourselves before the sprint starts, right? So you see, refinement is one of the, for me, I'll ask us this question. So I don't want to jump the gun. I'll ask us this question at the beginning, towards the end of this session, so that we can respond. I don't want to jump the gun. So we have basically, let's just leave it at five ceremonies: the sprint planning, the daily stand-up, sprint refinement, sprint review, and retrospective. So for the sprint planning, every, you know, every member of the every member of the team joins in the sprint planning. I have skipped something here. Anyways, every member of the team joins in the sprint planning, and we sit down to, discuss a number of things that will come across in the following slides. Same as the daily stand-up, same as the refinement. However, for the sprint review, I skipped putting the stakeholders. So the stakeholders are going to be in the sprint review. They're subject matter experts too that wants to come. Then people that are just interested. Some people, it's more like a learning curve for some people. So you see, when you get to some organizations, you just see people, they can even chat it that I'm interested in that particular thing, and that you should please invite them for your next demo or your next sprint review. So sprint review is called different things in different organizations. It can be sprint review, it can be called a showcase, it can be called a demo, whatever suits right. But we're trying to say we're trying to review ourselves at the end of every sprint. And then of course the retrospective, all the team members are in the retrospective. Now it's also onus on me to still tell you that for some of these ceremonies, some stakeholders can pop in. Maybe usually the stand-up, they can just come, show face and go, but they are not going to be speaking. Even in the stand-up, for example, in as much as you're facilitating, it's your development team that will be talking. That's the developers, they're the ones that will be talking. And when I mean developers at this time, I'm talking of the QAs, they're the ones that will be talking and explaining and telling you the updates of what they are doing and all in a very brief and concise manner. So just a moment. Okay, so this was a slide I was saying that I need to also put it as a background for us to understand before we start explaining all the ceremonies very briefly. So all ceremonies must be time boxed. Please do not joke with time boxing your ceremonies. Your team, they are watching you. You told them daily stand up is 15 minutes and you're using 20 minutes or 25 minutes. And guess who is talking inside the meeting? Someone should mute and guess who is talking? The same people that are looking at you that you didn't time box well. They are the same people that are talking, oh, but if you don't time box well, they'll tell you that you waste their time in a meeting. We don't want to get those kind of responses. Always time box well. Now, it's also onus is also on you if you feel they are talking more than they should in any of the ceremonies. Onus is on you to discuss with them and tell the team that, oh, hello everyone, sorry. You have to be very, very, very poised. You have to be very, very respectful. You don't just cut people off, don't get me wrong. However, I say, okay, guys, please, can we just end the meeting officially here? Then for those that still thinks they want to keep discussing on this particular, topic, we can wait behind and keep talking about it, right? Even you can wait behind, you don't need to dismiss. So it won't be as if you're working out on them, right? However, please ensure you put that demarcation that my meeting has ended, though I've removed my hand from it. Now this is you guys talking. So nobody will tell you that, you exceeded your time box, except in very, very few occasions that, okay, maybe you're already wrapping up, maybe you guys can finish in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So onus is also on you to apologize, and tell the team that, sorry, we are exceeding time by 2, 3 minutes. And at the end of the time, when you are now dismissing them, thank you for your patience, for understanding, or for us running over time, and always be respectful, show that, you appreciate their time and all that. Is very, very key. Every meeting must be purpose driven. You must have a purpose when you're entering into the meeting, almost like an agenda self. But there's something relating to that coming up. But you must have a purpose for every meeting. Don't just jump in and say, okay, it's time for sprint review. Let's just go. It's time for there must be something purposeful behind that, or else you lose your team. And I'll tell you what I mean by you lose your team. Your team will not have acceptance to the meeting. And that's the worst thing you can ever encounter within your team. Okay, so now we are 12 of us and we called for this meeting and only 3 people showed. And then you ask the remaining 9 people, well, I don't gain anything from the meeting. There's no this from the meeting. That's the reason they don't show up. Do we want to get to that position as Scrum Masters? No. So how do we avoid that? By making sure we don't bore our team to death, by making sure we are time boxed properly, by making sure we also make them understand their importance in the meeting. Please, if you do not take anything I'm telling you this night, please take this word. Make sure each of your team members know how important they are for your meeting. For example, your PO. Have you seen where POs will not show for refinement or even show for sprint planning or something because they are balling, they are big boys and girls, so to say, So instead of just going to fight the PO or anything, no, you can have a one-on-one with the person, just maybe a mini coaching. Don't make it look like a very rigid coaching session, right? Just have a one-on-one and make the PO know that, oh wow, let's say the name of my PO is Daniel, and I'm like, hi Daniel. So you weren't present for the other meetings we just had. We had the spring planning and you weren't there and all that, blah blah blah. And it's like, oh well, I joined the refinement and the stories are good to go. So I just assume, blah blah blah. I have other commitments, and you go that, oh wow, okay, so thank you so much for even joining the refinement in the first place. However, you know we really need you for the spring planning because you are our eyes for this team. You are the visionary. You're the person that we're looking forward to your presence in the meeting, because if anything goes wrong, we need you to quickly tell us that, oh, this is what it is. Sometimes priorities change. Even business priorities can change, and we don't want to start the sprint with you coming on the first day of sprint saying, oh, something changed yesterday, while you could have been in that sprint planning to let us know that these things have changed blah, 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 blah. You just have a rapport with the person. Then you start making the person's head probably even swell, like, oh, without you, that meeting cannot go on. We really need you, blah, 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 blah. And you also tell the person that, okay, we'll try and sit down as a team to work around your calendar to be sure that, it's the period that you are, completely, your calendar is not blocked at that period. And of course, the team's calendar too is not blocked at that period. So we'll find, a suitable time to do it, blah, blah, blah. You just have to have ownership of making your team come to the meeting. And one of the reasons they will listen to you to come to the meeting is if they have something tangible that they are getting out of the meeting every time they have a meeting with you, every time they have a section with you, they know that no matter what, if Vivian shows or Daniel shows, if Vivian shows, something will come out. If Folashade shows, something will come out. That's the reason for that. Now, you guys know what over familiarity is. Something you do every time, you get too familiar with it without even thinking of it. That's one of the things that we tend to neglect. So because we do daily stand-up every day, because we do sprint review, because we do this, you are not prepared, nothing. You have not looked at your board, you don't even know what is going on, you don't even know the things they've done to the ticket, you're not following up, you don't know if your backlog is in shambles, you don't know if you're this. No. For every meeting, write out an agenda, right? If possible, when you're scheduling the meeting, you can put the agenda of the meeting in their calendars. If you guys don't know how to do that, we can find time for these questions. We'll show you how to do these things. Sometimes you think you can do them. If you don't lay your hands and do it properly, you just go to an organization and embarrass yourself. So you have to find a way to know how to schedule meetings, block people's calendar, all those things are very, very important. You can use Google, you can use Teams to do all those things. Just make sure that you are able to prepare ahead for every meeting. Preparation includes that PO that did not come for the meeting. You should have, made the PO know that, oh, wait, the sprint planning is happening so time, and blah 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 blah. Kindly join us. All those things. Give them heads up. You don't just, don't get me wrong, we're all equal within the team, but however, people have different commitments too, right? So just make sure you are well prepared. If there are questions you need to ask, for example, somebody did not move their ticket for some reasons and they told you they were going to move it yesterday and you've not, oh, you're just coming across it. So during the meeting, you can quickly ask, oh, hi, you said you were working on this ticket, were you able to move it? You can also do that privately too anyways, but for every meeting you go to, just be always equipped before you proceed. Now, I said it earlier, every meeting must be valuable. Make sure every ceremony you do has something of value, something tangible that comes out of it every time so that you don't lose your team. Now we are going to run through the remaining slides. Sprint planning. So sprint planning is usually the first event of the sprint, and it's a framework where the team determines the product backlog items that will be worked on during that sprint and discuss the initial plan for completing those product backlog items. Now, we have taken you through sprint planning, hence I won't even be dwelling on it because I know you people have also watched the videos, so I'm not going to be over drilling down, but I'm just going to be giving you a quick reminder as we go, a quick reminder rather as we're going, right? So sprint planning, you are checking your product backlog to determine the things you want to put there. Of course, you've done the main job during, your refinement. So probably the things are already even in approved column are the things you're looking at, but they are still considered as product backlog items because they have not been sprinted. So you're checking it out. Even the things under the approved column, you're looking at the priority, you're looking at the severity, you're looking at the estimation. The estimation you probably did during refinement, is it good enough? Are we re-estimating this story? Is the team okay with the estimation? Those are the things, that will be running through your mind as you're going through the sprint planning. Always make sure you're ready for the sprint planning. This is a sprint planning in a glance. So we have the backlog, which is the product backlog items anyways. So we have it to do and all that. So then we go into sprint planning, we discuss, go back and forth, you're ripening the things you have fine-tuned during refinement, and then you now decide to take them into backlog and they become the tasks for you guys to do, right? So on each of those things, we start creating tasks on them because more than one or two people are working on those same stories. Say, for example, a developer picks something up, the developer has to create a development task for it. And when the QA picks it up to test it, the QA will pick a a manual test or an automation test tax for that particular story. Don't worry, as we're going, as you start your sprint fully, you understand. By the time stories are ready, we'll be guiding you through it. This is the time you need to work with your bodies full time. And if you now have something, probably beyond the body, you can call the mentors. We're also there watching and seeing how you guys are going. So one of the very importance of planning your sprint is to reduce any failure, understand and define the scope of delivery and how to accomplish them. So those are part of the importance of a sprint planning. Like I said, I wasn't going to dwell on sprint planning because we have had a feel of what a sprint planning looks like. So other things for sprint planning, rather, let me just go back a bit. So other things for sprint planning, for example, is making sure your definition of done, your definition of ready, your velocity, your capacity, your product backlog are analyzed. You make them actionable. Like you make it like this plan now. Yes, it is now ready. Then when you do all those things, we now estimate it. When you estimate it, you decide on your goal because it's the estimated items and all that you're committing into sprint. So once you commit and you know your goal, then you've had a ripe, sprint planning. So you have to make sure the team understand what is ready, what is done. I like giving this example because it can resonate with us. And the example is everybody's, sometimes definition of ready and definition of done can be different, but you have to decide as a team what your own definition of ready and what your definition of done is. So in this my house, let me give you guys one gist. So if my husband says I want to eat jollof rice and I make jollof rice for the young man, if I make jollof rice and I do the pepper, the rice, the this, and it gets done, right? Please, is that not definition of done? When I turn off the gas of the heater of the pot of the jollof rice, that's definition of done, innit? But for my husband, that's not definition of done. My own definition of done is I've turned off the heater, but my husband's definition of done is that,
Able.
yeah, what did he say?
It should be on the table.
Like, oh, who spoke now? Who spoke now?
Matter.
Okay, thank you, Mata. It's as if you're my husband's friend. I don't like this decision of what definition of done is. His own definition of that it is done is like you have served it on the table, his cutlery is there, probably his water is there and everything, that's his own definition of done, right? So sometimes when he's getting the water and everything and he's putting it on the table and he now sits there and I say, hey, now this is my own definition of done. So you see that as a team, we have to decide what definition of done is. This is individual now, just in the same house. So are we not supposed to be a team? But see how we are fighting over definition of ready and definition of done. So you have to do that with your team to know what definition of ready and definition of done is. So I purposely use this example because it always resonates with people so that you can understand what I mean by definition of ready and definition of done. You can read it up too. You see all those things that you feel that this technical part might not be my own job. It will be the developers. Please always try and equip yourself as a person, right? Don't put yourself in the shambles that you cannot have a proper discussion with your team. I'm talking to us one-on-one because we are Scrum Masters, we understand each other's language. So always equip yourself with what your BAs, your DAs, your QAs are doing. Your developers, just equip yourself a bit here and here. You don't need to know the technical things. It's not your job. We need to protect the Scrum role and face Scrum matters. But at the same time, so your team is doing, login details, they are doing the header, the footer, the this and that, da, 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 da. So because you're a scrum master that you're just facilitating, then we'll let them be worrying about what header is and what they need to put about header. Da, da, da. You just get lost. They will see you as incompetent in their head. They say, this one does not even know anything. They might not tell you out, but they will have that notion about you because you don't even know any the smallest of technical details. I'm not saying you should know and go and know, what's this thing they do in that is Visual Studio and everything and be knowing all the coding and everything they do on that. You don't need to know all those ones, right? But at least a bit of the peripheral so that you can have a healthy conversation with them, So that's sprint planning for us. So let me try and increase space now because our time is running out. So for daily stand up is brief daily meetings designed to let the team plan out the work for the day, right? That's what daily stand up means. It's also very quick exchange of vital information, and also you can quickly identify obstacles. And of course, the attendees are also the Scrum team. It's always good to mention that. So this is a daily stand up at a glance. So it's time box for 15 minutes, usually same place, same time, right? But however, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be flexible. You should be very considerate, even before determining the time that you want to put your daily stand up. You must discuss with your team. I am yet to see a team in recent times that don't have people in diaspora. Honestly, I'm yet to see a team in this time. You see people from Germany, people from India. In fact, you can't even escape the Indians. You can't escape, people outside the country you're in, because we are now in the virtual world. We do this stand up virtually and all. Now, some people wonder why they call it daily stand up, because it is actually a standing up meeting, like you're physically standing up to do the meeting. So prior now, just let's throw our heads back to before COVID. So for daily stand up, there's usually probably like a whiteboard for the team and all that. Like when I mean a physical whiteboard, like the ones you use in school, like the one you're seeing in the picture. So forget about those sitting. They usually do not sit. It's the standing that is the main thing, because people can just have a whiteboard. They just scribble out, what they've done for the day, what they are doing, and all that, just to show the tasks of what they are doing, right? Sometimes it can also be that people don't even have a whiteboard, right? They will just stand up in their cubicle. Most of these organizations, they just have a select portion of where each person's work table and workstation is. So on your workstation, once is, for example, let's say your daily stand-up time is 9:15, you stand up at 9:15, and highest people might just lean on their tables, but you be in the standing position and just have a quick 15 minutes conversation. And the reason for making it a stand-up physically, that you have to get up from your chair, is if probably you're in your chair to do something for 15 minutes, you might exceed. But if you're doing it standing, that you know that you do it sharp, sharp, and everybody goes back and starts their day. That's the real, genesis of why they call it daily stand-up. Now, for the timing, I was telling you about people in diaspora. So, is it Bangalore or somewhere? Different places. There's Bangalore. There are different places. Delhi. They all have maybe 5-8 hours differences and all those kind of time. So if you most people do their daily stand-up in the morning, because of people like people outside in diaspora. You can't It's always not really nice doing it in the afternoon, because their timings are going to be changing. So people usually just do it in the morning, but you also agree as a team. You can imagine doing the meeting at 2 p.m. and the person is 8 hours ahead. Is that not 10 p.m. in the person's place? So as you are now, say in the real sense of it, you're supposed to be working 9 to 5, and then you have to log in specially at 10 o'clock to do daily stand-up. Does it make sense? Do you understand? So you just avoid things like that. But you can't just go and say, I want it to be 9:15 because it favors you. By then you'd have gone to do school runs, you'd have been back, you'd have been seated on your chair. No, sit with your team, everybody agree, okay, what is a right time for us to do this daily stand-up and all that. Now, please, guys, note that before all these ceremonies, I'm trying not to forget anything as much as I can. Before all these ceremonies, after you have discussed and had all this agreement of time, date, even for all the ceremonies, and you want to put it in before the start of the spring, put it in their calendars, right? Make sure everybody knows the time, so that it will prompt them to remember. It's not everybody that sets alarm like me. A lot of people set alarms, right? But it's not everybody that sets alarm like me. Sorry, I just need to respond to this. Okay, thank you. So make sure you put people in the know with putting it in their calendars. So when it's like 5 minutes, in fact, most calendars, 15 minutes to the time, it will send you a reminder, 5 minutes to the time, it will prompt you also, and then you can remember and join the meeting. Another reason for doing it same time is, you can imagine they say daily scrum is 9:15 today. Tomorrow is 9:45. Next tomorrow, we want to do it at 8:20. Next tomorrow, I want to do it at, who will remember to be joining, some people, they have a way that they'll just be ignoring any flash that comes to their screen. But if they know that it's 9:15 every time, except you now sit down back and we discuss as a team that you want to change it, or maybe just for a particular day, maybe you guys have an office function that still allows you to do your stand-up that day, and you guys say, okay, you know what, guys, let's just have the stand-up before we go for this, so those can happen. Like I said, nothing is concrete in Scrum, and the real focus is in Scrum. What did you do yesterday? What did you do today? Any impediments or obstacles or any showstoppers and all that, But however, guys, between you and I, this is very boring, and the telling people, oh, what did you do yesterday? The person will talk, I did, what did you do today? We have grown past all those stage now. You have to put poise and efficiency in this thing sometimes. So you're like, Daniel just tells his team, Daniel, you're in trouble today. I'm going to use your name like a gazillion times. Daniel just tells his team, oh, hi guys, good morning. Hope you had a splendid evening and all that. Okay, so let's quickly run through this. Let's have a quick update, please. Okay. James, update from you, just go straight to the point, not, okay, tell us what you did yesterday. Oh, no, nobody has time for that. So he's just coming to give us a quick update of, oh, you remember yesterday I said I was going to be working on the Romax and blah, 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 blah. However, today I'm focusing mainly on, scripting the Romax from, the outcome I got from yesterday, blah, blah. They just go straight to the point. So you have to find a way to get your team, into a more conscious and not something too redundant. Somebody's telling you every day that, what did you do yesterday? So let's just up our game. But this is just the standard, right? I'm not saying we should throw the standard away, but you should have a content of you saying, okay, this is what you are facing to do today. So I'll tell you some of the importance of this. The importance is because it helps us inspect ourselves. We have mentioned it, at the start. That's why I wanted us to do empirism at the start, so that we know. It improves transparency. So even me, that I'm not James, that is doing the work on Romax, I have an idea that, okay, and there's something about when you voice out what you are doing to the whole team. Shame will not catch you to come tomorrow and say, I didn't do that scripting I said. That's one of the reasons for daily stand-up. When you open your mouth and tell everybody that I want to do this, you are able to do it. So daily stand-up helps improve collaboration. So there's that discussion, during stand-up sometimes. So he says, well, while I was doing the scripting, I wasn't able to save this in the K drive, something. Somebody will say, oh no, K drive had an issue yesterday. However, if you do that, blah, 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 it will come up, blah, blah, they start collaboration immediately. Put your team in a place that you don't know the technical details. However, if you put your team in an autopilot almost, for somebody to be able to jump in to say, okay, do it this way, do it that way, it keeps you guys in check. Now, one of the things you should not forget in ringing to your, this is another thing I say, first thing I said earlier that you should not forget, right, is making your team feel important and know that they need to, attend these meetings and all. This is also very important, to make sure your team does not have waiting syndrome. This waiting syndrome, I don't know, I coined the word myself because there's syndrome, there's waiting, and but waiting syndrome is, what's the time now? Let's say the time is 9:23 a.m., not p.m. Let's say it's 9:23 a.m. and Daniel, you're in trouble. And Daniel is a QA. And Daniel is working on something and gets blocked. We've already done our stand-up like 9 a.m. So that's gone. So Daniel started work at 9:15, and at 9:23, he got stuck on something. He just moved on. I was doing maybe something else. He didn't do that thing he said he wanted to, focus on today and all. All Daniel needed to do is probably peep in his cubicle or chat if he was working virtually from home to, please, can somebody help me with this? Just throw it in your group chat or something. But, waiting syndrome is in plenty people. So they'll say, maybe tomorrow during the stand-up, I'll raise it. Put your team to that position that they can continuously collaborate. Tell them they don't need to wait. If they have any issues, they should throw it up immediately. They should put it on the team chat. They should put it on, that's why you have that Telegram chat. Put it on, immediately you face that problem. And you take out, just a few minutes to try to resolve it yourself. You're not able to resolve it yourself. Throw it to the team straight away. Let's see if anybody can quickly find a solution for you. Put your team in that autopilot of being self-organized. Make sure they're able to organize themselves, plan themselves, and all. They share progress, report impediments, and make commitments. Then peer-to-peer accountability, it also involves that collaboration. Everybody knows, oh, what this person is doing, what that person is focused on. It really helps. It helps self-organize. So I've said all that. So that's that for daily stand-up. You can note your questions. And remember, daily stand-up, we have virtual teams these days. It's always done virtually, so we don't stand up physically. Most of us are even in our night wears when we're doing daily stand-up these days. But always prep yourself so that you be at your best. So sprint review. A sprint review is a meeting organized at the end of the sprint to collect constructive comments and feedback from product owners, stakeholders about what the team has accomplished. It's a very, very, very important ceremony because it helps you get feedback from what you have done in the last 2 weeks, or in this case, in the last 1 week. So you do something for 1 week, nobody tells you whether it's okay, or change this, or do that, or do that. How will you feel? Won't you feel that, am I doing it well? Instead of second guessing whether you're doing something well, sprint review will give you a constructive feedback. Then you will go back as a team and adapt it. There's something in Agile we call fail fast. Fail quickly, bam. Let's say you even did rubbish. They'll tell you in this place that, oh, it's not so good. Of course, people are very constructive when they are talking. They won't tell you it's rubbish. But they'll tell you in a very constructive way that, oh, you need to do this, this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that. You go back as a team. Quickly make the changes. That is what Scrum Agile is about. You are able to change on the go. You are able to sit down, as a team, adapt that to that change and move on, and get something tangible so that it will be what the users will like or the customer will like at the end of the day. So the review provides a place where the Scrum team presents the work they have completed for the project. Now, this is also a sprint review in a glance by saying this is an increment we have gotten at the end of the sprint. So some of the importance of sprint review is it provides a routine status update, right? So you're able to update, the stakeholders at the end of the sprint rather. And really is the second to the last ceremony of the sprint, because it's the one you get that feedback before you now go and do your retro and then start a new sprint, right? So it's the second to the last, and it's usually done on the last day of sprint. So it helps ensure the right products that fit the user's needs are created. It helps to inspect the outcome of the sprint, and so on and so forth. Now we're jumping into retrospective. So this is an example of a retrospective board, right? This, colorful this. So guys, you have to be very, very, very innovative when it comes to your retro. You have to be very, very innovative. So the innovation comes from maybe the type of board you do for your team. Like this one is an example of an hot air balloon retro board, right? So it's just telling you the thunder there is thunderstorm, the air balloon is what is dragging us down, what is pulling us down, the sunrise is all the good things, right? So in retro, we have lots and lots and lots of types of retro. At some point when I was doing this slide, I was like, should I munch, my team's retro board and show these guys? Because you'll be overwhelmed at the type of retro boards that are going on right now. You have to just be creative. And, like for me, I usually give options to my team. I'll have 3 options of, different retro activities that we want to do. And then I'll tell them, okay, pick your poison, retro is fun. Now, the definition of retro to me is not what I'm about to read. Retrospective is a meeting held at the end of the sprint. It's the last event of the sprint. So it reflects the past sprint and identifies ways to improve their processes and practices. That's not my own definition of retro. My definition of retro is fun, 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 fun. When we now finish having fun, we'll now come back and discuss that, okay, what didn't we do well now? Okay, okay, okay. What are the things that really went well? For me, I also like to do recognition, so this sprint, Vivian was able to take charge, blah, 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 blah. I'll put her there as recognition, different things. You can make your team have fun while doing retro. That's the idea. And after you've done retro in the office once, twice, 3 times, when I mean in the office, it can also be virtually. By the 4th one, please try and find a way for you and your team to hang out and all that. That's the whole idea. I know sometimes with the virtual team and people in diaspora, they might not be able to join, but at the same time, that's why you should have fun in the main retro. While, of course, predominantly in your team, you have people that are in the home country you are in. more. So you now go out with your team, you guys can go for a barbecue, you can go for game evening, you can go for anything, right? So just make sure you have pretty good fun when you're having your ritual. Ritual helps to find and figure out ways to improve the team and ways to make things better. So we've done this yada 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 this sprint, right? So we are coming back to retro to discuss, oh, what didn't go well this last sprint? Ah, we didn't communicate well at all. This last sprint, it was so bad. People were not collaborating, people were not this, that. So you would take that, and it's part of the things you put in your action plans and take into the next sprint. And usually I advise you guys, you can put somebody in charge of it. You can just say, does anybody throw it into the hair? And if nobody's, just use style and appoint someone, but don't make it seem as if you're appointing someone like that. You just say, okay, guys, okay, since nobody is, owning up to take up responsibilities to ensure we have collaboration in the next sprint, let's do it on a rotation basis. Maybe we'll just do it alphabetical. That keeps you not just selecting somebody. So maybe somebody in your team, let me look at your names. So maybe somebody in your team is bearing A, Ade. Ade, okay, so for this sprint, you'll be taking, this, yada yada, you'll be doing this, yeah, okay. Make sure that we communicate better this team. So some teams, they put it into the ticket, and take it across sprint. For me, that's my own perspective, that I don't really like that. But however, we can just note it on our board, our ritual board, and then we can now start, from time to time during the course of the sprint, they will raise it up that, guys, okay, you remember that action plan from last sprint was to improve on communication. Communication is still a bit stiff. How about we take it up a notch? Let's improve on our collaboration. That is, are they owning that task? Put people in the position of owning that task. Put people in your, see, for your team to self-organize, one of the things I also tell people, make sure even each team members rotate the ceremonies. So in your absence, because you're supposed to be the only scrum master in your team, right? So in your absence, they can take up things. Your team will not fall into crumbles because you're not there. Those are the things you make sure you do for your team. Make sure your team can stand alone even without you. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should make yourself invisible or worthless within the team. Let them feel you that, oh, well, it might have been sweeter if, she was here. However, we can handle this. She has put us, make them know that she has put us in that position, or he has put us in that position to run this team, within these 2 weeks that Daniel is not around, to make it happen. Are you guys with me? So that is that. Um, Usually, to start a ritual, you start with an icebreaker, like a fun game. Ah, games are endless in this world. There was a game myself, it was Moji that brought that game that time. You remember, guys, if you remember Animal Place of Things, you will not believe that we did Animal Place of Things, and the thing will cut you off in seconds if you don't quickly type what you need to type. So it will tell you places that start with V, and it will pop out 5 boxes. You start typing Venezuela, Virginia, before 10 seconds that you think that's throwing you off. It was really fun. And the game was arranged in a way that when you finish, it will now bring out cups of the 3 winners in the team. So it will be the one to identify the winners. Of course, when you're going in, you type your name. Like if I'm going in, I'll put Olawumi. If Ade is going in, it's going to type Ade like that. We're going to type our names as we are going in. So when you finish, the team will now line us up. Of course, big cup and big head for the winner. Okay, let's say Ade is the winner. Ade will be the one on the first step. You know how Olympics is, that they will do step for the winner. So yeah, it was fun that day. We screamed there. We screamed. We forgot that we were even supposed to discuss, what happened within the sprint. So let's endeavor to make our team, have fun. And in these things, because you're doing an icebreaker before discussing the real discussion, please don't also forget that the most important thing is actually doing that discussion so that you can adapt to, the things you got from the review, the actions that went on within the sprint, any stiffness within you and your team member. All those things are supposed to be addressed during this ritual. Hence, why you need to have an agenda before entering that meeting and time box it in your own way. You know, when you write an agenda, right? Sometimes you can say, okay, let's say it's supposed to be for 2 hours or 1.5 hours. Really, ideally, ritual is for 1.5 hours, anyways. So, say it's supposed to be for 1.5 hours. So you say, okay, oh, from 9 to 9:30, we'll do this. From 9:30 to this, we'll do this. From this to this, you might not write it in the agenda. You can just write the main things. Then you, in your own, personal agenda, you note in your head that, okay, this ritual, you know what, let's do the game for 40 minutes and do our discussion for 50 minutes. That makes up the 90 minutes for the, required hours. So make sure all these things are time boxed. You are your own champion. You are your own person. And don't always form busy. I don't like when people overform. Calm down. If you plan yourself, calm down, you get the gist right, right? So plan yourself. Own being a scrum master. You are a scrum master. Come on. Put respect to the actions you do. Make sure your team are enjoying you. Your team are, they understand, they feel your vibes when you're around. Don't do oversabi or be calm. This way I'm talking. When I'm talking to my team, I'm always humble. I'm humble like Muji is very Muji knows how to talk in a very humble way and everything. That's how it is. Oh, when you're humble way, also exert your authority. Have you seen people that are very quiet and people listen to them? Like that's because they have gotten to that level that when they talk, people will listen. So when you're talking to your team, don't show any form of rudeness. Don't show any form of squinting your eyes as if you are commanding them. Be pleasant, and in your pleasantness, please be professional. Be calm when you're talking to your team. And everything. Make them enjoy themselves when they are doing the ritual. So yeah, I said it's usually done between 1 to 2 hours within a 2-week sprint. So some of the importance of retrospective is the Scrum team inspects their activities. We've mentioned this. So you develop the plan for the next sprint to an extent. Now, when we say develop the plan for the next sprint, I'm not saying we're going to sit down like we are in refinement and start developing plan. No, the developing plan is that when you guys discuss that thing that held you guys back, and you guys are like, okay, no, in this new sprint, we will do this. That's the meaning of develop the plan, for the next sprint. So it's an opportunity to evaluate what is working effectively for the team, what went well, what didn't go well. There are plenty ways to do ritual, like the options I gave my team for this last ritual was hot air balloon, not this local type. This local type I saw on the internet, right? But hot air balloon that has all those recognition features, very beautiful hot air balloon. That one separate. There was also this roses. It's common to roses. It has roses, boards, stones, very, very 3D kind of rose. I also did a football. Like I split the board into 4, and then I put Chelsea as gained, bad. I put Man City like that. I put it now. Guess what? As I put it and showed my team wanted to eat me up. That was a 5 minutes fun, and I didn't even anticipate that was gonna happen. In my head, I was like, okay, probably they'll just. It was 5 minutes fun because my team, they're crazy about football, right? So now seeing it, and you see maybe you're a Chelsea fan, and I put Chelsea fan for bad. Please, what will you do? What's the first thing? They say, lie, we'll never use this board for our ritual. I'm telling you. So it became 5 minutes fun. They say, no, put Lead City there. Put this there. You know what? We'll go back and vote and decide on blah 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 blah. It was fun 5 minutes fighting over which club should be on the bad side and on the good side, and all. So just find a way to excite your team. And when you divide the board and just put it, it's not like I had to go to the internet, crop out Chelsea logo, put there, crop out Lead City logo. So and you don't do this on the day of ritual, because if you do it, you start rushing and all that. Like me, I'm always rushing to do my slides, to do my this, that, but work itself, I don't play with it though, because after the ritual of this ritual now, right, and we start our sprint planning and everything, that first 1-2 days when you start your sprint is always a bit cool for scrum masters, because you've done the whole hard work for planning the ritual, doing the sprint planning, ensuring the sprint starts well, ensure everybody, they are now working on their ticket. So that small window of rest for you before take people start churning out work is when you can sit down quickly, set your board for the next, so you get everything ready. Make sure your board is ready, make sure everything. So I've already put 2 options. Then when it was getting closer to the retro day. Then that's when I now added that ball because I just thought of it as what will I even use to scatter these people's dada this time? Because you have to just keep them engaged. And my team, they are very technical. They are engineers, so their brain, there's no play in their brain, right? But at the same time, you can just find a way to knock off the brain. So we don't even waste time on games, but we do a bit of icebreaker just to, before we used to do games. And when we do the games, you'll be surprised. They'll be, laughing and smiling and, after. But they said they usually enjoy it. But that game time, they will prefer to go and use it to develop blah, 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 and all that. Okay, I now said, okay, I will not remove icebreaker. They said, that your icebreaker, they need it, and they said, how? In fact, they were even contemplating that, what, let's be doing the games every other day, just something, just make sure your team is carried along in what you're doing. Increase quality and effectiveness of work. Allow the team members to freely share their opinions. And that is it. Now, it's time for our first icebreaker, but I'm tempted to quickly go run through refinement. Since we have done a bit of refinement, during how will I make these people not see this thing? Let me go fast. And make sure you guys don't see the thing. So this is an example of sprint retrospective, right? This is an example of sprint retrospective board too. I showed you guys the hot air balloon, continue doing, stop doing, start doing, what went well, what couldn't be improved, what could have been improved on, your action plan. But please, in every retrospective, make sure you get your action plan. These are some of the tools you use for retrospective. They are whiteboards. We used one yesterday. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Miro now. We have Mural, we have Azure DevOps, we have Mentimeter, we have Easy Retro, we have Lucid Chat. There are a lot of whiteboards out there. You'll be surprised. Let me even show you here. Maybe if I come out of it, there's also a whiteboard even on Zoom now. If you come out of your Zoom, you want to join in, you see that there's a whiteboard. So everywhere now, there's whiteboard everywhere. So learn to play with some of the whiteboards. Most of them have the same dynamics, but just know the dynamics for that particular one. Refinement. In refinement, the team looks at the product backlog and decides whether to further decomposition, the particular product backlog, and if it can be included into the next sprint. So refinement, just like I said at the beginning, most of these words, they are pure English. When you say you want to refine something, there are stories, you want to refine them, you want to make them very, smooth, make them acceptable, make them doable, make them workable, make them everything. So that's the whole idea of refinement. And I won't dwell on it because we did it side by side, kind of with the sprint planning, so the process continues until the team finds a good collection of user stories in the product backlog to be included in the sprint backlog. Now, the PO prioritizes the story. The team estimates. I purposely put this. The team shows severity. The team does a clear acceptance criteria, definition of done, definition of ready, and the next slide will show one of the things that all the stories must have anyways. But the whole idea of refinement, please make sure all these activities are done within your refinement. Now, the one I expect a question on will be on estimation. If we estimate during refinement, so why are we estimating again, during sprint planning? The reason for doing the estimations, just a moment. The reason for doing these estimations is because in refinement, when you have sat down, you have decided, you guys should follow this gist now as I'm explaining it. You have come into your refinement. The PO has prioritized that this is the business priority for this sprint. The business priority for this sprint is logging. So we're going to do this, that, this. He lists it. You do the footer, you do the header, you do the background pages, the pictures, blah, 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 or how to log in, whichever way, He has listed everything you want to do, right? Now, you now sit down as a team and he prioritizes that these are the ones we are doing. This is the must have. They could have, I showed you guys a Moscow prioritization table earlier in the week, right? So he prioritizes and says this, according to business requirements too. Then the team decides, sits down and now estimates. The reason for that estimation is if that story is now too big for us to take into sprints, there and there we'll slice it, we'll break the story, and then I do not want to use the word break. That's why I use the word slice first. So we'll split the stories, right? And then we'll rewrite an extra story to cover up, that division of the story. Then we can now estimate, and then it becomes more balanced. So you write a story and it becomes too big for people to work on, maybe 21 story point story. Why do that? Let's slice it into smaller bits. Say, for example, 8 story points, another 8 story points, and a 5 story point. That completes a simple 21 story point story, right? So just make sure that your team estimates, right? And when we now get into the sprint planning, we estimate again so that we are sure that the estimation we did now is okay. We are okay with it, because between the refinement date and the date for doing your sprint planning, business priorities might have changed. You as a developer might have gone back to think and say, this thing I said I would do in 3 story points, this thing is harder than I think. Yes, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to measure this, I need to calculate this, I need to code this, I need to, oh, no, 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 no. I think it has to be 5 story points. It can't be 3 story points. Let me increase it to 5 story points. So the person has noted it down. So by the time they get into sprint planning, the person will now, say, you know what, 5 story points for this. You get what I mean? So the team will sit back, rethink. And now, when I also mean estimation for your refinement, I don't mean you really need to go to the estimation table to, if it was Jira, you can just put it quickly, because we don't estimate this way in Jira, right? Jira, you just put the number, that's all, and you save it. So you can just go back, change it. But for Azure, you can just note it as a team, just note it down that, oh, this story point is this, the story point for this one is this. You can even just, write it there pending. And then when you want to now do your real sprint planning, you estimate properly and get average story points that you're going to put for each of the tickets. Now, some teams in the real world, they operate in different ways. Some teams is individual developers that estimate themselves. It might not be this joint way that the team is doing it. You can also go to others. But many teams do it this way. They do jointly, and then so it depends. Just be very open-minded. Like I said, anything we are teaching you or taking you through, rather, it is not cast on stone. So, importance of refinement to keep the backlog up to date and that PBIs are prepared for the next sprint. So we're just trying to ensure that we don't rule out this refinement. Refinement, again, it is us working ahead of next sprint. I just thought I need to mention that when you're refining, it is not because, okay, we've now started sprint, we want to refine now. The refinement you are doing between the BAs, POs, QAs, and the dev you are facilitating, the refinement they're doing is against the stories for next sprint. So you're currently working on logging, then PO comes again that the next story is for landing page or something. You get what I mean? So it gives the next priority and business priority, then you guys start working again. So you are just working ahead of the sprint. This is when the BAs will now start writing the stories, start fine-tuning it and everything. When it's ready, they call for its refinement, QA, developer, they look at it. Yes, we can work on this story. Oh no, remove this. Oh no, 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 add this. Oh no, 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 this. No, 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 no. If we do it this way, we'll not be able to click on this. Okay, do this. Okay, make it clickable. Don't make it clickable. They'll be fighting. And when I mean fight, I just mean, exchange, collaborate, just make something meaningful out of it. So I just thought to mention that. Ensures PBI for the next sprint is well prepared and prioritized. Eliminates backlog chaos. So instead of your backlog just being filled with junks, you do refinement to check out stories there that we're going to put on that approved column, so that we'll now be ready for us to, commit it into the next sprint. Then keeps the team updated on the status of the PBIs and all. Now, this is what all your stories must meet as a criteria. So this is what we call the inverse criteria by Bill Wake, right? So it's an acronym for independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. We have gone through this, during the course of our first session earlier in the sprint. So ensure that your tickets are, or rather your stories are, free from any other story. It should be a standalone story. You should be able to, you know, be able to discuss within yourselves how this is going to be implemented. Is to be something tangible at the end of the day, something valuable. It should be estimable, it should be small, and it should be testable. When I mean estimable, your team can sit down and say, oh, let's estimate it. That's why we are doing the refinement before we do, the sprint planning, so that we can slice the story and make sure it's acceptable and doable within the sprint. It should be small enough for us to complete within that sprint, and it should be something that we can test and say, okay, yes, we've done it. We can also do UAT on it to be able to sign it off and say, yes, this is the increment we've done for this sprint. Now, I had to just put this for us to see what Scrum is at a glance. That's all the ceremonies. This is it. So we start from the product owner. Are we seeing this chart? Can you see my cursor? Can you see my cursor? Don't worry, we're almost done.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So even I can't see my cursor. Okay, fine. So all the stakeholders, the executive and all, the customer, the users, they say, oh yeah, PO, this is what we want. Then PO comes and, tells the team, this PO part is working, like say PO and BA, they now list all the things they think they want to do on the story. If you remember what I explained to you, what a product backlog is, list of what is required, the feature, story, and everything. After the product backlog, this is me explaining a ceremony to you at a glance. So all the ceremonies after the backlog, then we go into sprint planning and you know um, teams select. Now, sorry, in this backlog, please note that there's refinement within it. Remember, I told you that ideally refinement is not really a standalone, ceremony, but it is very, very important ceremony. That's why you're not seeing it being named there. But under the product backlog, this first column, we have a bit of refinement going on in between here. We're making sure everything is ready, and then we go into the sprint. You select the things on the top of this list. This, you see these amber things. I'm sorry, what color is this? Like a very light brown. Those are the three things we are taking into this sprint. We are not taking all these ones in the blue. They are in the product backlog, but we don't need them right now. The priority that the PO has gotten is for these first three. Hence, it's these first three that we are taking into the sprint. So in between here, we've done estimation, we've done this, we know the goal and everything. So the team starts working on this. This is what we commit as a team, and then those things we commit, it will now become our sprint backlog. The moment things move from committed stage into sprint, it becomes the sprint backlog. Now your sprint can be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. In Blue Sky right now, for your team, we are doing 1 week sprint. So within 1 week, we are doing all the work, and the developers that are doing this work, the developers, the QA, they'll develop something, and the QAs will test it, and then sprint and all we go. So within this period, every 24 hours, that's daily, we have the stand-up meeting. When we are done with the stand-up meeting, then of course it's still within this cycle that we are going into, and then we have a finished work at the end of the sprint. When we finish the work, then the work is now reviewed by these same first people that gave us the work to do, right? The executives, the stakeholders, and everything, they are going to review what we have done. When they now review what we have done, right, they will give us feedback. We'll go and inspect, we'll adapt, and everything and everything and everything. When we now finish, we'll come and now sit and retrospect as a team. So these are just showing the PO, the team working on all these places. The Scrum Master is here facilitating. Can we unmute to say we understand what ceremonies are about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be very clear that this is what ceremonies are about. Do you have questions on this particular table?
From my own side, it's very clear.
Thank you for saying that. Okay, now I want to throw us this question first. Okay, no, before this question now, permit me to go back as much as I can. No, let me just use escape to make it easier. I had a retro question here I wanted us to do. We have just a few minutes. So guys, be ready. You say the reason quickly. This is the retro exercise I wanted us to do. Now, if you had a superpower, or if you're a superhero, in relation to time that you have spent in blue sky, these 5 days that you have spent with blue sky, what will you be and why? Now, I'll start with myself and I'll be very fast. All of us are going to talk, so we have to be very fast, like 30 seconds per person. So for me, I'm going to be Charles in X-Men because he can make anything happen, the big boy. So let's say I'm like you, like I'm in your shoes, for example. I want to know everything right now. I want everything to just, I don't know, maybe read people's mind, everything joined together. I want to be Charles from X-Men. Who is going? No, I'm going to pick the person that is going next. Let me just make this quick. So everybody be ready to pick the next person you want to pick, right? So I'm going for Gani Ali. Tell me.
I'll be like Jesus. So I'll know everything, including what's in my team's mind, how to go about stuff, what they're thinking, how we can achieve our project. Yes, I will be like Jesus.
Okay, all right. Next person.
I can't see I will pick Uche.
Uche, shoot quickly. Uche. Uche is not muting.
Lovata. They're in the kitchen, I guess.
Loretta, are you there? Okay, Uche is trying to unmute. Uche, try and unmute.
Sorry, I stepped away for a second.
Okay. Oh, so you don't know what we're talking about?
No.
If you had a Scrum superpower or like just a superhero, who will you be for these 5 days? How will you relate it to the 5 days you have spent in? I think maybe someone else should go before you so that you see what they're saying. So, Vivian, do you want to quickly go?
I don't know. I'll be Usain Bolt.
Okay,
Bolting through the way, compare it to the speed at which we've learned over the past 5 days, just sprinting through the whole process and just blasting things and moving forward. So I'll be Usain Bolt. That's who I'll be.
Great. Pick the next person, Chrissy.
Martha?
I'll be Sky in Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol, I can't believe you. Oh,
I'll be ready at any time to fly to UK, to fly to Djibouti to save time.
Okay, pick the next person.
I'll go for Ade.
Ade, quickly.
Black Panther.
Badu, why? Quickly.
Who do I pick? Sorry.
You didn't say the reason why you chose Black Panther.
Oh, because I want to be, I don't know. I want to be like a tiger. What is he? Like a panther, isn't it? I want to rule the world.
Okay.
I pick Daniel.
Not necessarily a superhero. I'll be Rancho in Three Idiots.
Rancho in where?
Three Idiots.
Oh, okay. Oh, I remember Rancho.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The guy was excellent, but he didn't take life so seriously.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed what he was doing. Like it was passion. And this is usual his usual quote, follow excellence and success will chase you pants down. And it's something that stuck with me.
That's what he taught his lecturer. You're very correct.
Yeah. So I'll be that kind of person. So I'll pick Uche again.
Nice. Uche, quickly.
So I would be Professor Xavier from X-Men. Basically, he can read people's mind. I know that sounds a bit odd, but yeah.
We're picking this up. Hey, I picked the next person. You see, she wasn't here and she picked the same person I picked. Same.
Oh, really? Oh,
Go ahead. Don't worry. No, it's fine. It's fine. Pick the
um,
next person.
Ghani Ali. I don't know if that person
She
is.
has done hers. Just
Oh,
pick
I've done mine.
Oh, sorry. Loretta.
Loretta. Loretta didn't unmute too. Loretta, do you want to quickly go?
Is that Wuchi that just spoken?
Yes.
Oh, I picked you and you picked me again.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Chi Ogamba, quickly. Delphi.
I'll be water, available for everyone to drink, and the same
Hey.
time
Badu.
acquire knowledge from everyone.
Francis.
I'll go for Jane and X-Men. I think she was stronger than the Professor Xavier anyway. She had stronger power than Xavier. So I read minds and still be more powerful to be able to assimilate everything.
Nice one. Victoria. Victoria.
Sorry, guys, I was trying to unmute. I'd probably have super speed so I can have resilience, endurance for this project that we're doing. Yeah, that's it.
Nice, nice. Moji, you can never escape me.
Did you see my leg? I was lifting my leg up so that you won't call me.
Oh yeah, hurry.
Okay, so if I have a superpower, it will really be I have the power of the angels. You know, they bring you good news and they bring you the not so good news, but they do it in such a calm way when they do it. So I'd rather be an angel.
Moji. You see, you people see what I said about Moji now. Very calm. Hey, nice one, nice one. Okay, that's it. I hope I've called everybody. Has everybody spoken?
Yeah, sorry, I stepped out. I just came in now. Sorry.
So
I went
who will you be? I
Hey.
actually called you earlier, actually.
Oh, sorry. I won't talk about superpower. I will be an ego. I want to work on the strength of an ego. Even when the current is against me, I will fly towards the current.
Okay, alrighty. Nice one. As an eagle. Eagles don't fly anyways. I think they soar. So yeah, you saw.
Oh yeah, I'll soar with the strength of it. Soaring is the word, yeah.
Alrighty, that's nice. Okay, thanks everyone for participating. So that's a ritual exercise that you can use when you just start the sprint. Like, let's say you want to start the ritual right now. You can use this as an icebreaker, for example. Look for very fun things. It can even be a riddle question for them to break a riddle, maybe a fun riddle. Then before you probably go into your games and then the actual work. But make sure you have enough time for the actual work, because if you don't retrospect properly, you will not take the right things into sprint. Now, lastly, I'm now going to ask this interview question. So it's official. I'm a Scrum Master, so I'm going to say it's official. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm done with this training. So this is now on our time. Please feel free to jump out if you're done. And I hope we learned something today. So we'll ask questions after this anyways. But at the moment, feel free to jump out. We're done. So, but I'll still leave it recorded because I want you guys to be able to listen to your responses when we ask this question. So from what you have learned today, I'm going to call somebody to respond to this. But from what you have learned today, what is this best Scrum ceremony? I'm going to only ask 3 people. When you're answering questions in an interview, it's going to be answered most likely. The best way is to use the STAR technique. Have you guys heard of the STAR technique before now? You can unmute. This is the time for us to unmute. We can unmute. Have you guys heard of STAR techniques before now?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So STAR technique is just like we have the inverse criteria as an acronym. STAR is also an acronym: the situation, the task, the action, and the results. That's what STAR technique is. If you try to look for a job now, some people will even specifically tell you that the answer with the STAR technique. So from now, you guys can start learning how to answer questions in a STAR technique. So situation is just what the situation is, the question they ask you, what situation, for every interview, when you want to respond, you have to respond as if you have done it before. And usually you should have done it before. If you take your time within this space that we are giving you here now to walk in blue sky, right? If you do what you need to do, you will be able to, you would have encountered most of these things. Be a stubborn PO you would have encountered. Is it a stubborn developer, or or somebody that doesn't do what they want to do, or somebody that, different things, you have different encounter, or people that don't respond in the team, you have different. So when they ask you an interview question, you'll be able to respond. So when they ask you a question in an interview, like for example, if they say, what is your best Scrum ceremony, you have to first think, well, usually maybe not with this kind of question. There are more other questions like, okay, tell us how you have worked with your PO to do this to clear the backlog or something. Just a question. So you will sit down and now think of your own situation when this ever happened to you. What was the situation like? You say the situation. Then what was the task? The task is for us to probably, clear the backlog. Don't forget that the PO is the owner of the backlog, but you are a Scrum Master, you have to make sure this is done. The PO is not off your coaching umbrella. If you don't know that, please know that everybody's equal in the team. You can coach your PO, you can coach your development team, right? Your developers. I just keep calling development team to make us understand that it encompasses both the QA and everybody. So you also say the action you took to make that happen, and then you say the results, right? We will not do it fully as an interview question right now because of time, in as much as I know we've finished and we're now working on borrowed time. But however, I just want us to just try a bit. Don't talk too much, 30 seconds. Let's just do it almost how we did this superpower on, right? What is your best Scrum ceremony and why? If it was an interview question that they asked you this, what will you say? In 30 seconds. I know you might have a lot to say, but don't really say a lot. Just go straight to the main point and let's go. So this time around, we'll go accordingly so that you'll be prepared to know that you are going to be next so that you can quickly unmute. So we are starting with you, Chi.
Okay, if my best ceremony is stand up, is that help us to synchronize on our progress towards the sprint goal. Yeah, everybody gets updated, nobody is kept in the dark, and we know what we're doing next. Thank you.
Okay, I like that. Thank you. Straight to the point. Mara.
Okay, I would say helping a team member to get on board.
Just a moment. Scrum ceremony. You have to mention the ceremony you like the most. The ceremony you like the most. We have 5 ceremonies, right? So we are asking
Yes.
like an interview question now. What is the best Scrum ceremony?
Okay, I would say it's the sprint planning, because it gives you room to know your team members very well, to know what they have in mind, to see how they're going to put their thoughts together and bring it on the board. It gives you avenue to know your strengths, your team strengths, and to know the